But so yeah, wow, like a whole story just flashed through my head when all those cards came out. They're antsy about this idea that they had about being by themselves, because that's never what they wanted. I just got this really like frustrated, which is this like temperance upside down, this really, shaking fist, like this isn't what I wanted. I wanted to give to someone who was meaningful to me, because this is always what I've wanted, and I wasn't able to do that. Like, I have the notion to pull more cards, but I feel like there's more information in the cards that were on the table. I mean, obviously, that looks like that. So we had the Three of Cups over here upside down that we said was the situation that we were in, that we were put in, that we didn't really appreciate. And then that is the Five of Pentacles. Let me see this. I got like out in the cold, but see, this is what I'm talking about. This person used the situation that they were forced to be in to get out of it. They used whatever thing that person brought against them. That's how this person was. They were smart. They wanted like a world that they had created, that like I was saying was their paradise, and they wanted it to share it with their lover, and they didn't get either. They actually were made to feel like a complete fool. So what they did was they acted like a fool, was what I just got. And they like made a big deal about everything, knowing full well that they only wanted like 20% of it, right? So that they could get the 20% that they wanted. They made an emperor move, but they made themselves kind of look like, I'm looking for the other character that they made themselves look like. Well, in a way, they kind of made themselves look like this other extra card here, this Four of Cups, like, kind of like, I'm so like not paying attention to what's going on around me. I'm just making these weird, kind of moves. Like, why would they want that? Why would they fight for that? And the fact of the matter is they didn't want it. They fought for it, but they didn't want it. They fought for it because they wanted to let it go because they knew the other person wanted it, or they wanted to have the other person feel like they got more so that they could have what they really wanted. Because at the end of the day, they weren't, like I said, they weren't dumb. And they were going to make this situation, they wanted out of this situation anyway. So they were going to make, I don't know if you can see that, but that's the Tower upside down. But they were going to make this situation work for them. At this point, when their feelings were affected and they had to use temperance to get out of it, it kind of turned into temperance in reverse, because they started realizing kind of like what they were dealing with and what they were getting away from, and how it was the opposite of what they wanted. And so they were perfectly willing to stop fighting for it, to actually go and start fighting for what they wanted, or at least keep the idea of, keep defending the idea of what they wanted. And they were willing to be out in the cold about certain things or with certain people, because they wanted the sun. And the place that they were right now, like the place that they were, let's say yesterday, wasn't geared towards giving them that, and they knew it, and it's the reason why they got out of it. They just didn't expect that when they were sitting alone, that A, they would be alone, and B, that they wouldn't like it. In fact, this makes me want to pull like the shadow cards. And I feel like a lot of these cards are still talking, because again, like I was going to say, like when we were in that Three of Cups that we didn't like, we went to this like Three of Pentacles mode, where we were like, okay, we're going to systematically start removing the people that we want to get out of our lives, and we're going to blame it on this divorce, right? And then we have this Sun card here, because again, we were kind of looking at the situation that they were in. Which one's this one again? Is that the 10? No, it's the 8. That 8 of Pentacles, that working on it, that's upside down. And then what's this? That's the 10. I'm getting that we let a lot of people think a lot of things. Maybe we insinuated that we wanted to keep someone or we wanted to keep something. You know, at first I was getting like property, like real estate because of our paradise that we're in. But I'm also getting like candlesticks and stuff, like everything. I don't really want this. I'm gonna fight for it because I want this other thing. I'd much rather have this other thing. We deemed what was most important, and those are the things that we ended up getting because we let that person think that we wanted a lot more. Yeah, because we were trying to avoid grief. That actually came up upside down. But the reason why it came out upside down was because we saw the potential for the grief and we just chose to avoid it. We knew how we were regarded from our significant other, and we got to the point where, for lack of better words, we weren't really going to let them hurt us anymore. We got in a situation where we planned it perfectly, but we were alone. And I mean like completely alone, like for the first time. Like if the house was never quiet, the house was so quiet last night that we couldn't go to sleep. You know, we had a thought in the beginning that we didn't, you know, that we hadn't thought of. And then once we did, it was really painful to think of. And then that kept us up all night. Yeah, this gratification card. For a split second, we were totally happy, and then we realized that it was our fantasy, it was our imagination, it was something that we thought of that we were so far away from, we don't have. Like, not only do we not have it, we don't even know we want this, and we don't know who we want it with. We don't have an idea. If we did, we could at least cling on to that and feel better about last night. And we're so tired when we're making this realization that we're not even sure if we're going to sleep the next day. Whoa. Okay. Guardian. So this card for this that card has a very strong meaning for me of loyalty. So the card by itself, like without its association to this reading, has an extreme meaning of loyalty for me. This is not, I mean, this is not you, the person that they're thinking about, or if you're watching this for someone else, this isn't the person that they're thinking about. Even if they haven't met this person, the idea that they have, someone matches this. So even if they don't know who they're thinking about, someone matches this. This could be you, this could be somebody you're watching this video for. But the person this is like a loyalty and protection card. Right here, the person doesn't just want to have sex. They want to be like protective and loyal. That's what would satisfy them. Because they are under the understanding that they get to choose, and they know what they want to choose. The law of correspondence came out upside down. It says, see life as the ultimate mirror guiding you to the highest version of yourself. Well, I can say that I think the reason why it's upside down is because in a way that's what's happening here, but they don't necessarily see that. It's not like, well, the thing happened and it kind of like gave me the mirror. It's almost like they kind of like when they realized they didn't have the thing they wanted, they sort of like looked for the mirror. Like they were like, what's, you know, the law of mental equivalent came out. Use your imagination to create your dreams into reality. This came upside down because I feel like I said, when they had the dream or they had the vision or they had the fantasy, and it kind of shocked them into realizing that the thing isn't the way it is. Like, you know, I'm sure they also realized that by now they could have had that if they had like made the right choice or knew what they wanted before and then moved towards that, but that's not what happened. And even if they did know what they wanted before they met this other person that had the levers upside down, somewhere they gave it up or they lost it. I really don't remember what this card is. Grief. Yeah, so again, before the grief happened. So they either didn't get it or they got it for a while and they lost it. I mean, I suspect sometimes when I see these like third party cards or us using that, because I can see us using that when we got out of it. It was almost like, again, they pretended like they didn't want to let people go that they didn't care about, or they pretended to, to like people more that they didn't care about, to allow somebody else to do something so that they could use that against them in court. Like it's something like that, where it's just kind of like, from the minute we realized that we were kind of like waiting for nothing, then it was sort of like, game on. But I'm not going to be aggressive about it. I'm not going to show my hand. I'm not going to give up on my dreams. I'm going to get what I want out of it without a fight. That's exactly what they did. And they got what they wanted until they had a what if, and then they realized they didn't dream big enough. All these laws just like fell on the floor. Because I have a substantial amount of cards left in my hand from the deck. I'm going to pick them up and see what they are. Okay, it looked like a lot. It might just be, oh no, well, it's a few. Let's see what we got. All right. First, we picked up the law of neutrality, right? We also have the law of tithing, which is expand your consciousness and all things will be added. This, a lot of times for me, was that dream bigger card, right? That thing I just said. The law of dharma, transform your pain into purpose. Yeah, again, not carrying through with the, oh, poor me, but looking forward and going, no, originally I wanted this, I got that there's a difference. And then the law of allowing, stop trying to fix, change, or control anyone. See, we learned that. We did that over there with that Three of Pentacles. We kind of we're like, okay. And the law of non-attachment, let go, release, and allow miracles. And again, this is kind of like what I'm talking about. We didn't hold on to anything. We decided what we wanted, the small things that we wanted, and then we concentrated on those, and we pretended to want a lot of other things so that we could get the stuff we wanted. We did that on purpose. It was like from the beginning they knew. They were like, okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm not going to start from nothing when I go to get what I want. I'm going to get a bunch of stuff here, and then I'm just going to go ahead and take it with me. And so now I kind of feel like we're in this in-between state where it's like, if I was going to pull more cards, which I'm like kind of trying to decide right now, it's kind of like at this point, would we pull on what we had, or would we pull on what we wanted? I mean, at this point, this person is just sort of horny and pissed, I do have another deck. Let's see if we went through all this. Oh, well, we do have the moon upside down. We do have the moon upside down, and we do have, yes. Okay. Yes, we do. We have another deck. I'm just not even sure if I should ask a question at this point. I mean, this energy really is tied and related to the fact that there's a lot of energies sitting around that are, I feel like that were up last night, at least in the last week, up last night, and aren't happy about it at all, and not happy about what they allowed. And yeah, the choices that they made. Some of them are really smart, about what happened. I made those choices. And then a bunch more came out, so I'm going to stop trying to get them out of this deck. I'm going to put this deck down and see what else came out. So we have the King of Wands, the King of Pentacles, we have the Two of Wands, we have that Three of Wands that's in reverse over there. We have this Four of Wands. So not only do we want love, we want marriage, right? We have the King of Swords and then this Eight of Pentacles. And we already had the Emperor on the table with the King of Cups. So King of Pentacles, King of Wands, King of Swords, King of Cups, and the Emperor on the table. Like I said, this person isn't stupid. Maybe they didn't want to hang on to the thing that they wanted anymore. And so I think them being the way they were kind of made people feel like they were weak, like they were holding on to stuff because they were trying to fight, because they were trying to hold on to the relationship, because they were trying to do this and trying to do that. And the first thing they let go of was the relationship, because it wasn't what they wanted. It wasn't what they came for. It wasn't what they felt like they had agreed to. And it wasn't really what they felt like they fought for. I'm also getting that in the beginning of this relationship, there was something against it. And they chose to stay in it, and they chose to fight for this thing. And I feel like it's that Three of Wands upside down. That just was never reciprocated. And then they created the perfect place for themselves. The perfect place for themselves, this Tower upside down. And then they were like, oh crap, my Nine of Cups. My Nine of Cups, Six of Cups. Yes, probably a very significant soulmate I'm thinking we're looking for right now. I mean, obviously the lovers, because for me it's not just any lover. Usually it's somebody who stands above all the rest. And I'm sure that this person doesn't need a definition to consider that as what they're thinking of when they're thinking of it. Because again, like I said before, they got to the point where they realized, oh my God, I didn't dream big enough. I wanted to be by myself, and I wanted to be in this place, and I wanted to have that, and I wanted to be able to sit by my pool, and I wanted to be able to, sip my margarita, but I didn't want to be alone. I wanted someone to be there, and I forgot to ask. That's kind of what this is. And they're a little mad right now. I think they'd be less mad if they'd gotten some sleep. So, yeah, I really don't think there's any more cards that we can tell that were, because at this point they're not really telling us what that person is going through. They're telling us who they are. Which, I kind of feel like with their frustration and with the way things were planned and with the way they feel right now, it kind of makes me feel like you could be anybody. You could be anybody and have this happen to you, especially if you're in a situation that's like, I was going to say jarring or like, shocking or just very like, I would say that like a permanent split up, even if it wasn't a divorce, could leave somebody in a space where they would be like, kind of in some kind of shock, to the point where when they're sitting there eating their takeout food, they're like, oh crap, this house is quiet kind of thing. There's, I'm sure 100 different things that could go through someone's head at that point when someone's not nagging or something's not, resisting or someone's not fighting, when it's truly quiet. What happens? What happens when you get out of something and it's truly quiet? At some point there's a reflection, or at least there should be. Keep this in mind. Until next time.